They say money can't buy happiness, but apparently it can buy my wife. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy telling this story. You know, the one where the husband works himself to death while his wife... Well, let me start from the beginning. My name is Kevin, and for 15 years I thought I had the perfect marriage. My wife Ashley and I met in college, both broke students living on ramen noodles and dreams. We used to joke that we'd make it work no matter what life threw at us. Love would conquer all right. After graduation, life hit us hard. The economy was rough, good jobs were scarce, and we were both carrying student loan debt that felt like a mountain. Ashley found work at a small marketing firm making decent money, but it wasn't enough for the life we wanted. So I did what I thought any good husband would do. I picked up a second job. My days started at 5 a.m. with my first job at a logistics company, handling inventory and managing shipments. It was physical work, exhausting, but it paid well. Then at 3 p.m. I'd rush across town to my evening job at a restaurant, washing dishes and helping with prep until nearly midnight. 7 days a week, sometimes more. Ashley seemed appreciative at first. She'd massage my shoulders when I got home, tell me how proud she was of my dedication. Just for a little while, she'd say, until we get ahead. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. The first few years were rough, but we made progress. We moved from our tiny apartment to a decent rental house. Ashley got promoted and started making better money. I thought maybe I could finally quit one of the jobs, spend some actual time with my wife, but that's when things started changing. Ashley began talking about her coworkers differently, especially one guy, Brandon, who joined her company as a senior marketing director. She'd mention his expensive suits, his BMW, how he'd take the team to fancy restaurants for client meetings. At first, I thought it was just conversation. Brandon says the marketing industry is all about image. She'd tell me over our budget-friendly dinner of pasta and store-brand sauce. He thinks I have real potential, but I need to invest more in my appearance. Suddenly, Ashley was spending more on clothes. Designer handbags started appearing in our closet. When I asked about them, she'd say they were necessary for networking or borrowed from a friend. I was too tired from my double shifts to question it deeply. The late nights at work became more frequent. Client events, she'd explain, coming home after I'd already fallen asleep, smelling like expensive cologne that definitely wasn't mine. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. to find her side of the bed barely disturbed. I started suggesting we do things together on my rare free time, maybe catch a movie, go for a hike, just reconnect. But Ashley always had somewhere else to be. You wouldn't understand, she'd say, it's work stuff. The breaking point came on a Thursday evening in October. I'd managed to get off early from both jobs, a rare miracle, and decided to surprise Ashley with dinner. I stopped by her office around 7 p.m. expecting to find her working late as usual. The parking garage was mostly empty, but I spotted her car immediately, and right next to it a silver BMW that I recognized from her descriptions. My stomach dropped, but I told myself it was nothing. Just coworkers working late together. I took the elevator up to her floor, planning to peek in and see if she was busy. The office was dark except for the light coming from the conference room at the end of the hall. As I got closer, I could hear voices, Ashley's laugh, which I hadn't heard directed at me in months, and a man's voice I didn't recognize. What I saw through the glass door shattered everything I thought I knew about my marriage. Ashley was sitting on the conference table, her legs wrapped around a man in an expensive suit. They were kissing like teenagers, completely lost in each other. Her hands were running through his hair, the same hair she used to run her fingers through when we were happy. I stood there for what felt like hours but was probably only seconds, watching my wife with another man. The man who could afford the BMW, the expensive restaurants, the designer clothes I'd been unknowingly paying for with my double shifts. I didn't confront them. I couldn't. Instead, I walked back to my car like a zombie and drove home. I sat in our driveway until Ashley came home 3 hours later, her story already prepared about working late on a difficult project. The next few weeks were torture. I kept working my 2 jobs, going through the motions while inside I was dying. I started paying attention to things I'd missed before. The credit card bills with charges at expensive restaurants on days she claimed to be working through lunch. The new lingerie that she never wore for me. The way she'd shower immediately when she got home, washing away evidence I'd been too blind to see. I hired a private investigator. It felt dirty, like admitting defeat, but I needed proof. What I learned was worse than I'd imagined. Ashley and Brandon had been having an affair for over a year. The investigator had photos of them at expensive hotels, 5-star restaurants, weekend trips I was told were work conferences. Brandon was married too, with 2 kids, but apparently that didn't matter to either of them. The final report revealed the most crushing detail. Brandon had been paying for everything. The clothes, the jewelry, even contributing to our household expenses so Ashley could quit picking up extra shifts. While I was killing myself working 2 jobs, my wife was being financially supported by her lover. I confronted Ashley on a Sunday morning. She was drinking coffee and scrolling through her phone, probably texting him. When I placed the investigator's report on the kitchen table, her face went white, then red, then white. Again, for a moment, I thought she might actually apologize, might try to save our marriage. Instead, she got angry. "You had me followed," she screamed. "How dare you violate my privacy like that?" "Your privacy?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Ashley, you've been cheating on me for over a year while I worked myself to death supporting us. She stood up, crossing her arms defensively. Maybe if you could provide the kind of life I deserved, I wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere. Those words cut deeper than anything else. All those years of sacrifice, of missing sleep and social events and time together, reduced to not being good enough. Brandon understands what a woman needs, she continued. Security, stability, someone who can actually take care of me without constantly worrying about money. I filed for divorce the next week. Ashley moved in with Brandon immediately, not even pretending to be sorry about the end of our marriage. She took half of everything, including half the savings I'd built working those brutal double shifts. For the first time in 15 years, I quit my second job. I'd been working it to support a lifestyle that was never really ours anyway. It felt strange having evenings free, but I was too heartbroken to enjoy it. Ashley married Brandon 6 months after our divorce was finalized. I heard about it through mutual friends, saw photos on social media of their expensive wedding at some fancy. She looked radiant in a dress that probably cost more than I used to make in a month. I tried to move on, started dating again slowly, went to therapy to deal with the betrayal and the way it had shattered my trust. It was hard work, rebuilding myself after feeling so completely rejected and inadequate. 2 years passed. I was finally starting to feel like myself again, even started seeing someone new, a teacher named Lisa who appreciated simple things and didn't need designer labels to feel valued. Then I got the call. It was Ashley, crying so hard I could barely understand her. Brandon's company had collapsed overnight, some kind of fraud investigation, embezzlement charges, assets frozen. He was facing serious prison time and everything they'd built together was gone. Kevin, she sobbed into the phone, I made a terrible mistake. I know that now. Brandon, he's not who I thought he was. The money, the lifestyle, it was all fake, built on lies. She was calling from a motel room. Brandon had disappeared when the investigators came, leaving her with nothing. No job, no savings, no support system. All their mutual friends had vanished along with the money. I know I hurt you, she continued, but I'm desperate. I have nowhere else to turn. Could I maybe stay with you, just until I get back on my feet? I listened to her pleas, her promises that she'd changed, her admissions that she'd been foolish and superficial. Part of me felt sorry for her. This was the woman I'd once loved enough to work 2 jobs for after all. But then I thought about those nights I'd come home exhausted to an empty bed. The lies, the deception, the way she'd blamed me for not being enough. The way she'd thrown away 15 years for designer handbags and fancy dinners. I'm sorry, Ashley, I said quietly, but I can't help you. You made your choice when you decided I wasn't good enough. You chose money over love, Brandon over me. I hope you find a way to figure things out, but it won't be with me. I hung up and blocked her number. 6 months later, I heard through friends that Ashley was working at a retail store, living in a studio apartment across town. Brandon had been sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. The life of luxury she'd chosen had lasted exactly 3 years. Meanwhile, Lisa and I had moved in together. She loved the simple life we built, cooking dinner together, watching movies at home, taking walks in the park. She never once complained about not having expensive things or fancy restaurants. She appreciated the man I was, not the bank account I couldn't provide. I still work hard, but now it's by choice, not desperation. I'm saving for a future I actually want, with someone who values me for who I am, not what I can buy her. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Ashley and I had just been honest about our financial struggles, if we'd worked together instead of growing apart. But then I remember that betrayal, that willingness to throw away everything we'd built for material comfort. And I realize that some people show you exactly who they are when money gets involved. They say money can't buy happiness, but apparently it can reveal character. And sometimes losing everything is the only way to learn what really matters. The irony isn't lost on me. Ashley left me because I couldn't provide the lifestyle she wanted. But in the end, I was the only one who actually could. Because real security isn't about designer clothes or expensive cars. It's about finding someone who'll stick with you through the hard times, not someone who'll abandon you the moment something shinier comes along. I don't know if Ashley ever learned that lesson, but I did. And that knowledge, painful as it was to acquire, turned out to be worth more than any amount of money she could have cost me.